My name is Ward Keever, joined by Michelle Fisher here at Covenant Wealth Strategies. Today is Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, and we are extremely fortunate to be joined by Brittany Wells, who is an internal relationship manager with JP Morgan, partnering with Chris Scales. And our presenter today is Ileana Vanderlinde. And so we are very, very excited to have Ileana presenting today. Our topic is cybersecurity. So of course, October is Cybersecurity Month, and cybersecurity is a legit thing. It's a real thing in terms of all the bad actors trying to get you and your stuff and everything else. So Ileana is an executive director with JP Morgan, an asset and wealth management cybersecurity expert. And as part of her role, she educates clients and employees of JP Morgan globally on how to better protect themselves, their families, and their businesses from increasing cybersecurity threats. Ileana and her team develop timely cybersecurity educational materials on a variety of topics to help address the needs of wealthy individuals, family offices, businesses, and other centers of influence, so that we are all better prepared to deal with the reality of cyber threats. Ileana works closely with her colleagues in cyber as well as fraud prevention technology to understand the latest threats and solutions to mitigate them. In her work with JP Morgan, she brings her extensive experience in wealth management and technology, and working with high net worth and ultra high net worth clients and their advisors, which of course is why she's working with the team here at Covenant Wealth Strategies. Throughout Ileana's 20-plus years of career, she has sought to make technology solutions easier to understand for the layperson. And prior to joining JP Morgan, Ileana worked for Morgan Stanley and also Citigroup Private Bank, having previously a career in prior to financial services, worked for Hewlett Packard in Europe. So Ileana brings a bachelor's degree from Georgetown University, an MBA from Columbia Business School, and a master's of cybersecurity from Fordham University. Outside of work, Ileana loves her dog, and specifically is working to get her dog recertified as a therapy dog to go into VA hospitals and that sort of thing. Of course, Michelle and I are also big dog lovers, and in fact, I think, Michelle, one of your dogs was certified as a therapy dog previously.
Yeah,
so,
my little dachshund Mooney, he was a therapy dog too.
Yep. My two dogs need therapy, but other than that, without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Ileana. And by the way, if you have questions, you can email your questions in to Michelle, that's Michelle with 2 L's, at covenantwealthstrategies.com. We will hold your questions until the end. We actually already have some questions that have come in prior to the conference. And so we'll share those with Ileana at the end of her prepared remarks. So Ileana, without further ado, take it away.
I'm delighted to be here. And you know what, actually, I'll pause at a certain point, Michelle, and I'll ask you at a good juncture if there's certain questions that are relevant to what I already talked about, so that we can kind of chip away at those. All right, so cybersecurity, super important also at JP Morgan, because we spend over $12 billion on technology, $700 million a year on cybersecurity. And I stress that the two are not the same thing. Okay, a lot of people go, I've got a tech guy, or I'm not very tech savvy. They're not the same thing. So this is one of the things that we set up a couple of years ago, is to help people understand really how cybersecurity happens. Tech makes everything work super smoothly. Cybersecurity goes, you also let 3 people in the process. Right, so we do a little bit of check and balance. One of the things, though, is as much as we spend and watch what is going on the perimeter of JP Morgan, we also notice that hackers go where it's easiest, and that is often to our clients and friends, because this is where there usually are not the controls in place there. So this is where we do these. We developed a educational program, first about cyber awareness. How do you protect yourself? Everything that you do in your everyday that could be impacting you, your family, and your business, right? A lot of people just often think about cybersecurity and like, it's just something I have to worry about at work. And we're all seeing in our everyday lives that things are much more prevalent. And many people have already dealt with identity theft and hopefully things like that. So we have a whole slew of programs that we talk about. So what I'm going to do first is give you a high level picture of what the cyber security and cyber crime field look like, and then we're going to go down into some of the protections. So it's something that impacts everyone. Even if you read the headlines on any given day, you might see a couple things that have currently happened in the news, but cybercrime is massively underreported. I get reports, if I were to print them out, they'd be this thick, on all the things that are happening that never hit the newspaper. Cybercrime is now so large that it is considered the third largest economy behind the US and China. This year it'll be 8 trillion alone globally that it impacts. And this is where it's not going away, and it's more profitable than drug trade. So hang on, fasten seatbelts, right? It's going to continue. There's no industry that is immune, exactly to the points that were made earlier. The financial services industry is probably the most mature when it comes to cybersecurity. We do a lot, we spend a lot, we are constantly, it's a big priority, but we also collaborate with other large institutions and talk about attack patterns. What are you seeing? What are we seeing? Okay, let's set up a better, let's set up a defense around this. This is not happening in every other industry. Healthcare is being ravaged for information. So if you've ever visited a doctor's office, hospital, clinic, vet's office, pediatrician's office, your information is probably already on the dark web, okay? Everybody's information is out there to some degree or another. I always say you don't have to pay $24.99 to find out. You're on it. When I talk to infrastructure, this is what I worry about, is our infrastructure is on legacy systems, often much easier to get into. Oil and gas, also big legacy systems, but schools and nonprofits usually spend very little on cyber. So big area of opportunity. So nobody is staying away from this. Now, the thing that we are seeing a lot in the headlines is artificial intelligence. And Michelle, I'll just ask you, have you tried ChatGPT yet or not?
I have, yes.
And what did you think?
Well, it's a little scary, but it seems pretty smart. It gives you answers. When I use it, I'm always super careful not to enter any personal information, any confidential information. The way I found it's best to use is just speaking very broadly in general terms to maybe get an idea started.
Wonderful. Perfect. I love it. So I just actually put out an article on how to use it in a more secure way. But this is the thing, it is a really interesting tool. I encourage people to use it because it is going to be very transformative for a lot of industries. And you have to kind of understand what you're up against. What is different than our typical search engines is it's not just a one-way tool, right, where you get an answer, but it also is learning from you. So you do have to be very mindful. Now, it is very smart, but I would always use another source to check anything because it's always trying to please the people it's working with. So it's going to hallucinate its way into an answer just to satisfy you. So never use this as a golden source, okay? But hackers are also using this. They're using it to write better malware, code, phishing emails, and things of that nature. So everybody is using it. So you should know how it works as well. In particular, around AI and machine learning, what we worry about is namely the phishing, because you're going to find better phishing emails, or they're not going to have the grammar errors or the mistakes, the misspellings. It's going to be much harder to detect. And that is one of the top tools that comes into us. There's concerns about data poisoning, weaponizing the tool, and of course, authentication. What do you trust? Whom do you trust? How do you trust? I.e. those deep fakes, right? Those are things that we all get concerned about. So It's happening. It's just another way that they're getting in. So let's say I decide that, let's talk about how a cyber attack actually happens. And let's say I get somebody's business card that is on this call. I research that person. I go on the dark web and I see if there's any information for sale. Usually a lot less money than you might think. I go to the public web, news and social media, and I'd be like, ooh, I've been trying to get into their company. Let me do a little bit of social engineering, because that is one of the most predominant ways that hackers get in. It is not through bad technology, it's by phishing you. So I might write an email to somebody's accountant or financial CFO that says invoice overdue. And somebody's gonna be like, what? We always pay our invoices on time. Click, click, click. And in they go into an email, seemingly thinking there's nothing wrong. And there might be nothing that changes on the screen. And the person might think, oh, I paid this invoice last week. I don't have to worry about this. But the hacker, meanwhile, could be downloading malware onto a system. They could be taking that and sitting stealth for quite a while in the system, and they're going to do reconnaissance. Who are the people that use the system? What is the process? How do they move money? What's the technology that you're on? And then they're going to launch a bigger attack. And we see our clients be hit by three things most commonly. Wire transfer fraud, in which somebody's been duped into wiring money to another, to a wrong account. And in the vast majority of cases, it is because their vendors, the underlying vendors that they deal with, have been hacked. The smaller the company you deal with, the more you have to think they've been compromised. So in every case, you have to call back the company that has sent you instructions or has told you that you need to, we've changed banks, and have them tell you what it is. Don't say, is the new account number 123456? Because through a deep fake, potentially, there could be somebody saying yes. You want to always ask the question to try to get as much information and see whom are you dealing with, right? The other thing is business email compromise. That's in essence when somebody's sitting in and reading right over your shoulder. They see everything that you open, send, close, working on, draft. They see everything. And they could be using the information that they have and sell it, or they can try to disrupt and pretend that they're you as in their email. And then the worst is, of course, ransomware. And that's in essence when somebody says, I've encrypted all your files, you can't use them, and now you get to pay me in my cryptocurrency of choice, or I'll give them free again, right? And so we see our clients have to deal with this on every end of this spectrum, right? But a lot of people worry about the ransomware, and what I really want to encourage you is to think more about prevention. How do we prevent, and why is there so much information about you on the dark web, right? How can we work to remove that? Are you running antivirus? Are you checking for phishing? Like let's focus more on the left side of the screen rather than deal with the car crash on the right. Right? So one of these things, one of the top ways that we mentioned that hackers get in is through phishing, right? And this might be like, yeah, Leon, I know all this, right? Or maybe you work in a company and you regularly get phish tested, like we do at JP Morgan, and I'm sure you also do as well at Covenant Wealth. We're prompted to make sure that we know how to identify a bad phishing email. And we would all look at this, and there's some flags in here, there's some misspellings, there's a link in here, there's no contact number. We all would be like, yeah, I'm not going to click on that. That looks a little, my gut says something's wrong. Good, great. The issue is that we are all being inundated with loads of emails in our personal lives, right? Your Amazon driver can't find you, your order's been canceled, your Netflix membership is on hold, these are the people using your Netflix password, and we're all being inundated. And here's the thing, 95% of these are fake, they are not real, and they are also trying to get you to click into something so that they can download malware and hopefully piggyback their way into other aspects of your life, be that work or personal. Hacker looks at you much more holistically than you look at yourself. So it's imperative that you really think about personal and work, not just separate parts of your life. They're all connected, oftentimes through devices like this, right? Where we're using all one thing. So always go the long way, log into your Netflix account, figure out if there's a problem, log into your PayPal account to see you really have 3 invoices, log into whatever it might be, but do not click on any of this, okay? Same thing as with text messages. Every place has been hacked, okay? Your vet's office, your doctor's office, your CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, all been hacked, okay? And you've given out your phone number to each one of them. So this is one where you also have to be super careful. Political season is starting, of course, so everybody's being inundated with this. There's several apps that you can use to cut down on the spam calls and spam texts. We'll send the list out later, but Truecaller, NomoRobo, RoboKiller, and Haya are 4 apps that are great in cutting down greatly on this. Please be mindful. Do not, also, I got one here that said, "Greetings, Ileana." And I thought, oh, they spelled my name right. How cool. Oh, whoops, 2 exclamation marks. Never mind. I am Mo with Emerson College, blah, blah, blah. Want me to click on something. But the best part of the message appears to be something that says to opt out, reply stop. And if I do press stop, what it's actually going to do is tell the hacker on the other end that a human being has engaged with this text. And then my phone number is going to go for more money. So we don't want that, right? So don't press stop on stuff you didn't sign up for. Don't unsubscribe from things you didn't sign up for, but you can block those things, all right? So just be super mindful. Now, you might think this is all such, I get it, there's spam, it's just annoyance. No, it's actually one of the top methods and top tools of attack for organized crime. And that's why you need to be paying a lot more attention to the spam and the emails and the spam messaging. So there's hackers who hack for different reasons. They have different motivations, but the vast majority are cyber criminals hacking for money or information that can lead to money, right? They're trying to fund their organizations, potentially even their terror groups. And so this is why it's really important that we keep these guys at bay. So in this group, with the 13,000 groups, there's some hackers that are very good at hacking into anything and everything. They'll hack into and they'll grab credentials, resell them to another group that's very good at putting together profiles from many different stolen, sources of information, and other groups that are very good at targeting, right? They resell them to there. So this is never a guy that is after you. You are out by being followed by several different groups. So I always like to ask the question and have people think about, how many of you have 4 or more email accounts to your name? About, okay, Michelle, how many do you have?
I have 2. I have my work one and I have 1 personal one. I've cleaned up all my old ones.
Okay, all right, so let's think about that. So we use email today for 2 purposes: communication, where real words go back and forth, and for logins, right? We're just logging into a service. Nobody is communicating. So I want you to actually think about and have more emails, not less, okay? Because you want to think about your emails as an asset to you. Just like we invest in different asset classes for to distribute financial risk, you want to think about those emails are an asset to you. That's how hackers primarily get in. So let's talk about first the emails that we use for communication. Michelle, if your email, right, you probably used an email like Michelle at Conquest, Covenant Wealth Strategies.com, right? And so all great to use for work. You write to people that you work with, clients, third parties, anything work related, that's great to use. But where I don't want you to use a valuable work email address is on Uber, OpenTable, frequent flyer account, Saks Fifth Avenue, Marriott, Home Depot, Target, MGM, Caesars, because they've all been hacked and they will be again. And when a hacker hacks into a hotel service for the 100th time and goes, oh, I've been trying to get into Covenant Wealth Strategies. Is it Michelle Fisher at Covenant Wealth Strategies? Is it Michelle F? Is it M Fisher at Covenant Wealth Strategies? What's the syntax? Because once I have that, then I can blanket fish her and all her colleagues. Okay, so we want to refrain from using a valuable work email address in places that are not really work related and you don't know the security. Okay, so less is more. Your personal email, Michelle, okay, I'm just going to take a wild guess and you don't have to tell me, but maybe it's something like Michelle Fisher, maybe your birthday at gmail.com. Sort of, kind of, right? But here's the thing is all of us can recognize we have an email that has a portion of our name in it such that our friends and family might recognize that it's us. And that's important. But I also want you to do some homework on that email tonight, because what I'm going to do, pretend I'm the hacker in this case, is, well, let's just say a hacker is going to hack in potentially to you at 2 a.m. Okay. They're going to get into your personal Gmail account because maybe they can't get into, Covenant Wealth. And they're going to go, because again, they look at you holistically. They're going to hack in and very quickly bypass your inbox, bypass your contacts, because we don't know what's real or not. But they're going to go straight to your sent folder, because your sent folder is a point of truth. You've reached out, confirmed, acknowledged. In your sent folder, they're going to look for 5 keywords: bank, finance, tax, password, and medical, because those are all the keywords they get the most money for on the dark web. Your list comes up, they send it to themselves, erase that they were in your account, and they're onto WordNext. Okay. Very quickly, they can go through a lot of different emails and try to harvest information. Later, they're going to look at what they got. But this is one where I want you to be the hackers on your own accounts this weekend, not on this little device. No. We're going to do it on a large screen with the keyboard. You're going to go to your sent folder and enter bank, finance, tax, password, medical. If you don't like what comes up, delete it or download it and put it onto a USB. But don't have your personal email be the virtual filing cabinet for your whole life. Okay, we're going to reduce the surface area that they can actually capture. Now, what I want you to do is I actually do want you to set up more emails, Michelle, okay? But I want you to do it without accounts without your name in it. Okay, so the other two were just used for communication where you're talking to friends and things like that and they know it's your name. I want you to set up additional emails without your name in it for all the services that we use where nobody cares, nobody's talking to you. One of my emails is ilovefastcars@gmail.com. You don't know my name, age, gender, ethnicity, location, nothing. When a hacker hacks into car service and they see, ooh, I love fast cars versus Michelle F, 1234@gmail.com, who are they going to go after? Unfortunately, you. They're going to go after named accounts first. So set up different emails. I have them by category of my life. I have one email that I use just for the travel category. I have another email that I use just for online shopping. Your categories can be different. I have another email that I use for charities that I work with that have horrible cybersecurity, right? They're not spending on that. So why would I give a charity the same email I use with my bank? Don't do that, right? Because they're going to see, oh, how generous they were. Maybe they used this email at one of the banks. You always have to think about where is my information going to. Children's schools are another area where ask your kid's school how much they're spending on cyber, usually little or none, right? And so this is why use a different email with your child's school, not the email for work and for your banking. So this is where we're separating your risk. You can set these additional emails up with Gmail, Hotmail, Outlook, MSN, those are all Microsoft. AOL is fine. No Yahoo accounts. Yahoo lost the privilege many years ago because they were hacked twice. I also am not a big fan of the cable provider emails, which they have to give to you for FCC regulations, right? Which is free. So you want to use a dedicated email provider and make sure that you have the additional ones. It's very easy to manage. If you have a mail app on your phone, you can list all the separate emails and, clean them up and etc. But I'm not going to be able to hack into your account tonight, Michelle, if you have 2-factor authentication on that email account. just like we do for all our banking accounts. You want to have it on any account you hold of value. Your email accounts, your medical accounts, your social media, your airline, your everything else. Just use two-factor authentication. It will greatly, greatly reduce data theft. Okay, can't stress that enough. And if you have a business, I'll tell you right now, you cannot even get cyber insurance anymore if you do not have two-factor authentication on all your different processes, because the insurance companies are tired of paying out, and two-factor authentication is so effective. So one of the other areas that we struggle with, let's say I pick up somebody's business card, is, oh, here's their email account. We just got to work on their password. And unfortunately, the top 10 most hackable passwords remain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, password admin, princess 41, 7, 8, 9, let me in baseball, I love you, football. The next 10 are about as idiotic. They're usually the sports teams in the region. So if we're in the Baltimore area, Ravens. If we're, Commanders, New England, Patriots, like, is very predictable, very predictable. Barbie probably made it into the top 20 as well this year. She may fall down again, but this is where it's not hard. So a hacker is, again, not sitting there going, oh, I wish I could get into, their accounts. They buy a million email accounts. They have built an entire data dictionary with all the bad passwords in it, the easy ones at the top. They head out for lunch, come back, and they, have put these two things together, and it says, ding, 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 ding. These are the emails that had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a password. These are the emails that had Princess or Barbie or Ravens as a password. And they go, oh, great. Did you get into the person I'm really trying to hack it? No? Okay, I'll work on this over here, computer. You keep going. Right? So you're up against a bot. We are all up against bots that are never tiring. They don't hit your account 10 times. Right? They're programmed to just hit 1, 2. Oh, wasn't that one? Next night, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So they're persistently coming in. They don't get tired, right? That's what we have to understand, is there's a constant drip. So passwords should be longer, not shorter. A song, a phrase, a book title, right? Where you have multiple words together, more characters, but 8 is never sufficient on a password, 8 characters. You need 12 to 15, 17 if you can get there. You want them complex, not simple, with uppercase, lowercase, numerals, and special characters. Please do not write them down on sticky notes. Put them, on whiteboards. And the laminated Excel sheets do not come in and say, look at me, I'm so great, I've got the laminated. No, right? There's better ways to do things. So that all sounds great in theory, but the reality is the human brain works very differently, works very simple. So I adopted a dog a couple of years ago. Of course, she's part of my password. I love her to death, just like you two. So if my password were, though, Roxy 2018, where I have a capital R and some numerals, I might think, aren't I great with my password? I would be instantly hacked because it's only 8 characters, right? And this might be so, but if my password were Roxy goes to school, where I've used a phrase, I've used numerals in place of vowels, special characters, uppercase, and all these things, that would last about 100 years. And that would be a great password. Most people fall somewhere in the middle, or I'm not going to ask people to admit the Roxy 2018, but there are plenty of you out there where you're like, yeah, we've had that dog forever. We love that dog, right? People get very emotionally driven with their passwords. And that's what the hackers are looking for. They want you to not change them. So if you are in the camp of Roxy 2018 type of password, there's some very easy things that you can do to mitigate that. Take the bad password, go home tonight, take the bad password, double it, add a special character, and voila, you are at a 17-character password with Roxy 2018 equals Roxy 2018. Mentally, you haven't broken anything up here. Emotionally, still with the dog. Factors for success, right? These are all very simple things you can teach a technologically challenged spouse and your children, right? Not hard. But your children and your spouse are also an extension of where a hacker can hack in and try to get to you. So everything has a ripple effect. You can also take your bad password as a root password, add prefixes and suffixes unique to the site that you're on, such as you would have Roxy 2018 _ shop Amazon or Roxy 2018 fly Delta, but make them unique to the site that you're on. Now, the other thing that I love that I'm going to stress and encourage you to use is a password manager. Now, password manager, let me explain what it is and is not. Password manager is not Apple Keychain or Google Chrome that, where it says, hey, I'd love you to save your password in here because of the level of encryption, right? It's not very encrypted. And hackers are also looking already for passwords in a browser. Password manager is an app that goes on your phone, your desktop, your laptop, your iPad, whatever device you have. The top 3 in the marketplace are Dashlane, Dashlane, 1Password, number 1 in password, and Keeper. Now, the way it works is, let's say I put Dashlane on my phone. I enter my username and password for Delta Airlines, for example, and it would say, Ileana, a really weak password you got there. Want me to change that for you? Yes. And it takes Roxy 2018 and changes it to 1ZGF, 32 characters. I never have to remember that password again, because going forward, I'm going to go through Dashlane and it's going to auto log me into Delta. Through Dashlane, it's going to auto log me into Amazon, Chase, Wall Street Journal, whatever I have. It's also going to turn around and say, Ileana, guess what? Uber and American Airlines got hacked again. Want me to change those passwords for you? Yes, please do. And so it's going to change the passwords. Now, where this is also a great tool is if your family is using passwords together as a group. Let's say you share passwords with your spouse, your children on Amazon, Disney, Hulu, Uber, whatever the case may be. You can have your 100 accounts on the password manager. Your spouse can have their 75 accounts or 150 accounts. But for the 5 and the ones that you have together, they can coexist on both. And you can also defer out 5 or whatever to your children. You can say little Jimmy just gets the Disney Channel, his older sister gets Amazon and Disney and whatever. So you can sub-account these passwords out. If they change the password, it auto syncs to yours. If you change the password, it auto syncs to their device. So nobody is left in the lurch. You log into a hotel and you think, oh, I want to watch Netflix on the hotel screen, right? You can then, you put the password in. You can say temporarily show me the Netflix password. You type it in. And then when you think, oh, I forgot to log out of the hotel, you can say, please change my Netflix password. So it is a very effective tool in keeping passwords secure and encrypted. And so I'm going to pause real quickly there. It's also, I'll just say an enterprise version as well for businesses that it's very effective. So Dashlane, 1Password, and Keeper all have enterprise version if you have a small business. Fantastic tool to use as well. So Michelle, real quick, any questions related to anything that I brought up? I'm sorry, I think you're on mute.
So we do have some clients that have emailed in some questions, so we could ask some of those now, or if you'd like, we could wait till the end.
Yeah, if there's anything sort of related to what I have, and then I'll take some of the things I might already be answering in the next phase when I go through another section, but anything that seems pertinent to this?
Yeah, so going back a little bit, those text messages that we get on our phones that, could not deliver a package or,
Yes.
whatever it might be. Could you explain to the audience how to block those? So rather than, you said don't message stop. So how do we actually block, let's say on iPhone?
That's a great question. So there are several apps that you can put on the phone that will already greatly reduce those. And we'll send out the list, but Truecaller, Nomo Robo, RoboKiller, or Haya will do an excellent job in cutting that down. I've even put it on my mother's phone, right? So it eliminates that whole thing. But then when you go to the text messages, let's say you still get that, you maybe want to update the app, but you could also go to the information, the caller on your phone or your iPhone or Android, and then there's usually an ability to block this contact. Okay, and so there's very simple, and the book that I'm going to send you also explains a lot of that. Okay, but that's really important to do.
I know I've gotten those before, and I just swipe, and it's usually will have, block this number.
Yes.
So I've done that before. So for anyone who has questions on that topic, I think a lot of people get those annoying text messages. So
how do we, per se, access the dark web to see what information is out there about us?
So there are different services, and the way I describe it is there's dark web light, and then there's dark web deep, right, if you will. So sometimes there's services that will just say, oh, we found your email on the dark web. And that's one good way to know, wow, that email could have been compromised. And then for some people who say, like, listen, there's way too much information about me publicly, there's services that can go much deeper. And to also remove things like that. So we'll send that in the list as well. Okay, but when you think about the dark web, there's what we call, think of it like an iceberg. There's things that you see on the surface of the web. There's anything that you search, like Google, anything that you Google or that is indexed, right? You can find it, best steakhouse in Delaware, right? And it'll give me a list, and I'll say, no, I want the best steakhouse near Rehoboth, right? And then it's going to give me a different list. So all those things are indexed. That's the almost open web. The next level down is the deep web. The deep web is sort of under that surface of the water. Those things are all legitimate, but they're things that you can't readily find. So let's say Conquest Strategies has a white paper, or JP Morgan has a white paper that we just offer to certain people. Say, oh, because you're a special client, we offer this white paper. It's not easily searchable on the web, but if you have that link, it's sent through a legitimate. Or a lot of our medical records are also on the deep web. Can't Google them. The dark web lies all the way down further, and there where you need a special browser to get there, a Tor browser. And I always say to people, don't go there yourself. It's sort of like going into a neighborhood where you just know, like, I shouldn't be here, right? Just don't do it, because you're going to stick out like a sore thumb to a lot of those people unless you know what you're doing. All right. So we'll move on. We've got a couple more, and we're going to have more time for questions, but I love them. I love engaging. So one of the other places is our home networks, where a lot of us can be compromised. Our home networks, a lot of us went home for 2 years during the pandemic, and now all of a sudden the hackers were like, oh, let's follow them home. Let's see what we can get there. So if you have a router in your house that is older than 2 to 3 years old, it is time to upgrade, because the cyber attacks that are coming in now are running right over the older firewalls. Okay, you may not even know that they're in, but they're in. So the new routers have 2 Wi-Fi networks by default. These 2 Wi-Fi networks do not talk to one another, even if they come off the same device. You have a primary network and a guest network. I want everybody on this call to be on the primary network. That is where you do your finances, your remote work, your sensitive transactions, your taxes, everything there on the primary network. If you like your spouse enough, you can put them on the primary network as well. But your children, no matter how much you love them, do not belong on the same network as you, whether they're 7 or 27, I don't care. They're going on the guest network. Okay, the guest network is where they're downloading stuff from school, they're playing games, they have no clue what they're downloading, but they stay on a different network. And again, these 2 networks will not intersect. So if there is malware downloading onto their, computer, it's not going to connect to yours, right? And that's really important. If you have and even if your best friend comes over and goes, hey, let's watch the game this weekend, you don't go, oh, well, they're an adult, so therefore they go online. No, they're a guest. They're not paying your bills. They go on the guest network with your kids. Okay, all over there. Your smart devices that you have in the house that make life worth, living for, your Peloton, your Roomba, your Sonos, your Nest, your Wi-Fi enabled dishwasher, all that good stuff. Easiest things to hack into from the other side of the globe. They cannot be trusted, so you need to put them all on the guest network, right? If your entire house is smart, right, and where, things change, you should really have a separate network just for all your smart devices. But if you have this smattering of smart devices in your house, like most people do, you can put it on your guest network, right? And then your kids can suffer the consequence. But this is one where truly, I've seen it on several homes and also in businesses. For business, you also should have a primary and a guest network. Don't put anybody that doesn't work for you on the primary, always put them on the guest. All right, public Wi-Fi. A lot of us are traveling for work and for, personal again, which is great. But this is one where I want you to be very careful of the Wi-Fi. Most people know best to not get on the Starbucks Wi-Fi, right? Because are you really on the Starbucks Wi-Fi? We don't know. Very easy to emulate the name of a Wi-Fi. So a hacker could be sitting in a cafe, change the Wi-Fi name, and you think you're logging on to a legitimate one. I've stayed at some very nice hotels that had multiple Wi-Fi that looked very similar, and my last name and room number works on several of them, but only one of them is real. So it's happening much more predominantly than you think. So stay away from anything that says the word public on it, right? Because you're on there with everybody else. Even if you're staying in the 4 or 5-star hotel, I wouldn't. You can always use your phone as your encrypted data, your T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T. Use that first and foremost. You can use your phone as a personal hotspot. You can also travel with a little mobile Wi-Fi unit that you also can get from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, and that'll handle up to 5 to 10 devices. So if you're traveling as a family, you take a little travel Wi-Fi, you plunk that down on the countertop or the desk, and go through that. But if you are, and you do have to be on the public Wi-Fi because you don't have service somewhere, you need to be friends with a VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network, and you can get it either as hardware or software. There are several software VPN apps that you can employ. 2 that are great for travelers: NordVPN, not Norton, NordVPN, ExpressVPN. There's also TorGuard VPN, Viper VPN, Surfshark VPN. Again, we'll send the list. But what would happen is I would be on the hotel Wi-Fi, immediately log on to the VPN, and it would ask me, what country do you want to log in from, Ileana? Between Albania and Zimbabwe. And I might pick the United States, but I could also pick Portugal. And what's going to happen is temporarily for that session, the VPN is going to assign a different IP address to my phone. That provides me privacy and security. Privacy, can't tell it's me, and security, it means that anything that I send through that Wi-Fi now cannot be seen by others. So important. So it tunnels your information. Okay, and that's the key thing, because otherwise, if you think, just going to log on for a couple of seconds onto the Wi-Fi, real quick, just a couple seconds. Not how long you're on there, it's what you're typing in. So if you're on there and for 5 seconds and you type www.chase.com, username and password, bingo. If it was done without a VPN and not undercover, that's now on a postcard. That's how you have to see it. Okay, so stay away from public Wi-Fi. If you wouldn't write it on a postcard, you shouldn't be using public Wi-Fi. That's how you have to see it. Let's have some fun with your phones. Maybe you have your phones with you. I would imagine so. Most people do, right? Who travels without one? But let's pull those out and let's look at some information. So Michelle, if I may, do you have an iPhone? Uh-oh, now she's getting scared. Oh, you have to go get it. Okay. So
yeah, she's gonna go grab.
Okay. You're being so polite and not having your phone in the meeting. There we go. All right. So let's see. I want you to open up settings on your phone, and I want you to look at and tell me if at the very top you see your name at the phone.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. You do. Okay. Perfect. So that's what we're going to change. What I want you to change. So I want you to click down on your name at the top of settings, The next screen, if you're still on 16. iOS 16, it's going to say name, phone numbers, email. Or if you're on iOS 17, it's going to say personal information. So click on that.
Yep.
Next screen is going to say name and whatever. Click again down on name till you hit first name, middle name, last name. This is in particular to the iPhone, but this also is for Android. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a brief story. I was on a train between Boston and New York. Of course, I'm not on the Amtrak Wi-Fi, would not be caught dead on that. But I want to use my phone as a personal hotspot. So I'm kind of procrastinating before the several hours worth of work that I have ahead of me. I look up my phone, the personal hotspot, my personal hotspot is listed. And in the Wi-Fi list, I see not just my phone's name, but I see several other people's names. One of which was Carla DeMarco, right out there. And I thought, let me avoid work for a little longer. Let me Google Carla DeMarco. So I Google her, and I very quickly realized that she's sitting catty corner to me on the Amtrak in the same car. This lady has been blathering on for hours, okay? The big deal they're doing, company they're buying, problems they're going to have, what they're going to sell off. And I'm like, wow, and I know that she's CFO of a certain company. I saw that. I also saw she went to Harvard and has 2 children. I have inside information within 15 seconds. So I take a deep breath and I think, this is not good. I got to help the sister out. So I lean over to her and I say, Carla DeMarco. And she says, yeah, you look so familiar. And I think, oh my God, no. No, I don't. No, I don't. I said, no, you don't know me at all, but I work in cybersecurity. I know you. You're CFO of this company. You're going to buy this, sell this. You went to Harvard, have 2 children. She almost fainted on the spot. I said, if your name had not been emanating from your phone in the way it does for the personal hotspot, I would not have been able to piece you all together like that quickly. So I helped her out and changed this, and this is what we're going to do with you. Here's what's important to understand is your device happens to have received your name, the name of your phone, okay? We're changing the name of your phone, not your name. So you can click down where you see first name, middle name, last name. You can pick any name you like, your favorite drink, snack, cartoon figure, historical figure. You can be Davy Crockett, Guac and Chips, Dark and Stormy, Frosted Flakes, whatever you want to be, okay? But don't be Carla DeMarco, don't be Michelle Fisher, don't be anything that I could easily recognize, because the hackers are sitting in the better lounges, in the trains, in the first class, whatever, and they are looking for names. Okay, so when you email somebody, you're still going to be Michelle Fisher in your case, right? But your personal hotspot and your airdrop name is going to be different. So when somebody goes, who's Chocolate Chips? Oh, that's me, right? That's me. That's the name of my phone, right? So that's where you don't have to be, you're not going to make it obvious. So in the book that you're going to be getting, or in the handouts that we're going to be doing, there are a couple other things that you want to check. We have some homework for you: settings, privacy. Look at the apps that have access to your life that you may just so buried, most people never look at this. But why does you, and you'll be quite surprised when you do this homework tonight, which apps have access to your camera 24/7? It's not for facial recognition, I'll tell you that right now. Which apps have access to your contacts, your calendars, your photos, your microphone? Turn it off, okay? If your phone really does need these things, it'll say, hey, Michelle, I need you to turn on the camera for that. But disable a lot of these things. The one thing you should do in the is to enable the app privacy report. Again, that'll all be in the book. But just make sure that privacy and security are not the same thing, but they are very related. There's too much information about you that you're allowing these apps to have. This is also where that also eventually makes its way to the dark web. So we want to stem that information from getting out in the first place.
Michelle's a professional stalker, so I'm just thinking to myself, this is how she gets all the information about people. When I'm like, hey, we're going to be talking with Ileana Vanderlinde, And so Michelle comes to me and she's like, oh, she has a dog that's doing therapy, you know, whatever. And I'm like, how do you come up with this stuff? And that's how.
It's
Everything's
amazing.
out there.
It's amazing. Oh, we have a couple people on the team that are excellent stalkers. When I go, oh, I'm meeting with this one, they're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's amazing. So it's not, this is very real what people do, right? If they are sitting in a airport lounge or in a place like that, and then people do that, they'll look that way and then go, who is this person? Antivirus, you need it on all your devices, including your children's devices, but you should most certainly have it on your mobile device that you can't live without, and on your iPads and your tablets and things. So there's several apps that are antivirus, including Bitdefender, McAfee. I also love one that's called Sophos Intercept, SOPHOS Intercept. That thing has saved me twice from being hacked on the plane. Okay, so hacking on the plane is also a thing. But in the world that we live in, this is a lot more prevalent than one might think. Social media. This is also, I'm sure, one of Michelle's tools if she's stalking people, right? You don't have to go very far to look at people's social media pages and see what they do. And social media does include LinkedIn, even though it's a professional network, right? And that's where people can also post too much information. So Sonia here, she's one of those who can't help herself. She's a partner in mergers and acquisitions, but she has told us that she's headed to London for 4 days to attend an international mergers and acquisitions conference. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody really cares, but she has now revealed where she's not going to be. She's not going to be at home. She's not going to be in the office. She's going to be distracted while she's speaking on a panel, right? This gives somebody way too much information and going, here's our window of opportunity. They're also going to go to her personal pages, other social pages, no matter what they are, be they Instagram, Facebook, X, whatever it is, right? And they're going to go, dog factor's big in her life. There's a pool. Maybe she's a swimmer. I don't know, Prague, other things. They collect information. They're definitely going to her kids' pages, guaranteed, because they can't help themselves. And now her son has written, headed to the Bahamas with grandpa for 2 weeks. So we have an entire window where people are distracted. We know a storyline. We know, right? Because the kids can't help themselves. And everyone has a cousin that is posting too much in Ancestry.com. So your information is out there. So this is why, right? We have to be way more careful. Do not post before you go somewhere. Do not post while you're at the conference. You can come home and tell everybody how fantastic that conference was, and you hope that you get to go next year. Don't tell people where you are. Post the 801 pictures of your vacation after the fact, right? Don't tell them where you are. And because there's so much information out there about us, why are you still using your real mother's maiden name for your security questions to protect your wealth, right? My mother's online maiden name is eggplant. Eggplant parmesan is mom's favorite dish. Make it up. Make it up. Here's a bank telling you to be creative, okay? My favorite vacation destination, my sister's Instagram would reveal also, I have the track, exclamation mark, right? Car, dog, or car would, track, never bad. Last but not least, freezing credit. So important. We have had, a lot of people are familiar with credit monitoring that tells you, oh, somebody is trying to open up a credit card in your name. You want to stem this before anything happens. Our credit is available 24/7, 365, yet nobody in their right mind is buying a house, a boat, a car 24/7, 365. So what happens is you freeze your credit separately with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You get a special code from each of them. When you are in the market to buy a house, boat, car, you unlock it, right, for 48 hours or a week, and then it locks back down again. But it prevents new accounts from being opened up in your name, right? And so really important to be able to use that. Again, you can put the codes in your password manager and your digital vault. But this is a really effective thing to do. And if you have elderly parents who are whose credit could buy a house, a boat, a car, but they're not going to be, you should freeze their credit now before an obituary comes out, all right, with every detail of their life. So I know I have fire hosed you all with lots of information. email, passwords, home networks, public Wi-Fi, loads of different things. Again, you're going to get a little bit of a small workbook that you can work through these. Please don't feel overwhelmed. Pick one topic a weekend to work on. If you're like, wow, the home Wi-Fi thing with my kids, do that tonight, right? Or this weekend. Or explore a password manager or set up the different emails. But pick whatever kind of resonated with you the most, do that first. So I hope that this has been helpful, but try to be more anonymous online. Stop using your name in different places. When I sign up for services, for Uber, Chipotle, Starbucks, I never use my real name on those apps, just as a by the by, right? I make up names. I have fun. Protect your online and financial accounts with all the things that can be there. Protect your devices. And with that, I hope that you will, you'll get the materials, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Sure. Thank you so much. That was a really powerful, great presentation. I think there's a lot of takeaways we can all work on. I do have two questions.
Sure.
One being, how do you set up two-factor authentication for an email account? Let's say Gmail, for example. That's a pretty common one.
Yeah, so that'll be in the workbook that we're sending through. All the step-by-step instructions will be in there on how to set that up. And it doesn't mean that you have to use two-factor each and every time you log in, but if somebody's trying to log in from a device that's not yours, you're going to get an alert that says, Shell, are you logging in from Brazil today? No? Oh, okay, must be somebody else, right? And then you're much happier that you are not having your entire email account taken over, right? So it puts another, like a deadbolt on the door.
Great. And that booklet, do you have a digital version? We can email that out to our clients?
Yes, that's all coming digital. Yeah, that's coming in soft copy, so everybody will get that.
Great. I'll make sure we include that in our video replay. And then other question is just these password protection programs. You know, there's more and more of those out there now. Has there been any concerns, or are there any concerns with, bad guys trying to get into these programs, because these programs have all the passwords?
No, that's a great question. And one of the things that is really important is the reason why we like these particular password managers, Dashlane, 1Password, and Keeper, is because of the level of encryption. So there was a password manager that was breached, namely LastPass, and here's what they got and didn't get. They did not get any of the master passwords because of the level of encryption that worked on them. They did not get any of the underlying passwords on all the sites that people visit, but what they did get is they got the customer file, which was not encrypted. And so now all the customers of LastPass were known, and the sites that they visit. And that was where shame on LastPass, right? That was not good. But you want to look for 256 AES-bit encryption. And that's also going to be in the book on what we look for in a password manager. So there are a lot of services out there, but you need to know how well they secure it and if this is their core competency. Right? This is where I tend to go for what's the core competency, and not like, oh, well, they have antivirus and they have a password manager and they have this and they have that. You can get a service that does all, but is it really the one that you want? You really have to look at all these services. You can buy one for all, but it's sort of like saying a package plan. You're not always going to be getting the best of the service. And if it's your information, then but that's a personal preference, I would always look at the underlying security.
Ileana, under the heading of don't post your travel plans before or during, we have friends who actually came home from a cruise, and their entire house, all the furniture, the electronics, the 2 cars out of the garage, everything had been stolen out of their house. And one of the first questions the detectives asked, did you post about your travel plans on social media? And they said, yep, we were posting from the cruise ship. And so, the bad guys, if you will, knew that both husband and wife, our entire family, were away, and took their time helping themselves to everything that was in the house. So it does happen. This happened here locally in Newcastle County to friends of ours a couple of years ago. The other comment that I would make is I have just figured out why October is Cybersecurity Month, because it's also the month of Halloween, and this stuff scares the you-know-what out of you, right?
Yes,
So,
indeed. I think they picked it very aptly the month when they decided to make this Cybersecurity Month. So I would agree with you. But hopefully it scares people into action. There's, I think what we've shared are really some good tips and tools on how to better secure your life and not be caught unawares.
So for those people who are currently listening today, we'll make sure that you receive the workbook that Ileana has referenced several times during our conference today. For those who may be listening subsequently, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office and request the workbook, and we'll make sure that we provide that to you. Ileana, do you have any closing comments for us today?
No, I think just stay safe, stay cyber secure, and again, don't feel overwhelmed. Really try to just do one thing a weekend, so that by adding protections in your life, you'll eventually, you'll just make things more secure. But it's always a journey. It's never a destination when it comes to cybersecurity.
All of these ideas, tools, tips, and tricks are not intended to be instant, but rather they are tools and tips and tricks that can be implemented over time, and with each incremental action you take, you become more secure online, and so that's what we're trying to accomplish. Ileana, thank you so much for sharing from your wealth of knowledge and expertise and experience. Trains, planes, airport clubs.
I'm around. I'm looking for you. I'm on all of those.
Yep. And Brittany, thank you to you and the team at JP Morgan for making Ileana available to us. We greatly appreciate it. Again, Ward Keever, Michelle Fisher here at Covenant Wealth Strategies, October 18th, 2023. Cybersecurity tips to stay safe online. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day.